everyone, we're back to the silver screen this movie Monday with Casablanca, which none of us have seen previously before.
Nope. I mean, we all know it exists, and we existed, but that's kind of it.
Also, amazingly, it is one of the rare movies from the silver screen that has not been remade, to my knowledge, either.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, after watching it, I kind of understand why it would have been hard to have remade it.
Yeah, it is interesting that, like, this... Because, again, it's a film that takes place during World War II, but it was also, like, made during World War II at the same time.
Yeah, and, like, no one knew what it would end up being in the end, like,
right.
how it would conclude.
Yeah, because I was looking this up, and it's supposed to be set in 41, and it was released in, like, and it was basically finished, like, by the end of 42. So it's interesting from that perspective, kind of seeing, like, how they did things there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Now when you see, like, Nazis in movies, obviously we know the outcome and we know of all the atrocities that happened, because there's no way that, like, they mention concentration camps in the film, but I don't think anyone was fully aware at that time, like, how...
Like, the extent of them.
Yeah, like, the extent of them or how badly they were either.
Yeah, because I think they mentioned, like, the guy that he escaped from the concentration camp, and they said that they thought he died, but, like, I think it said they thought he died, like, after escaping. Right? So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they... Because I know that, like... Well, it's a matter of, like, did they know, or did they, like, really know what was going on? You know what I mean? Was it something where it's like, yes, there were people in the know, or was it something where it was like, you know, the general public actually knew what was going on? And especially by 43, I don't think that I don't think the general public really knew what was going on. But
probably not.
I don't know.
I think they were aware there were concentration camps. They just didn't know what
what that entailed.
Yeah, what that entailed exactly. They knew that people were getting rounded up and that people were fleeing from Europe. It's just that they even mentioned that the US is neutral during the movie too, which is also an interesting thing. And I think because of when it was made and, like, the portrayal and everything, that does go into why it can't exactly ever be remade, because now you don't have that uncertainty and stuff like that, you know. And obviously a lot of the whole plot of the movie kind of would probably get changed if it was ever remade and stuff like that. So it's definitely a very interesting movie historically and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting in context from that sense, but for me it's sort of like, did I actually, like, get invested in the story or characters or anything like that? And honestly, I didn't really. Like, I don't know. To me, like, this is an example of a movie that, like, I can't really say there's anything wrong with it, but I just completely lost interest and I just stopped caring. And I don't know if that's just because, you know, oh, I'm not used to the old movies or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of came away from thinking this being like, okay, shrug. I don't know.
I kind of enjoyed it in terms of, it is like a different movie. I was expecting it to be more of a romance, and I didn't know how I would feel about that per se in terms of like... And so it was kind of surprising to actually see that it was more of like a historical kind of thing, which intrigued me even more in that sense. And while there was a romance angle, I kind of appreciate that they didn't go completely ham with it, and then in the end she actually did go with the other guy on the plane.
Yeah, her husband. I was a little bit confused between the two of them because they look a little bit similar. They just wear different hats, but their faces are kind of similar, and I guess, like, when it's black and white, it's a little bit more difficult to, like, distinguish two clean-cut looking white guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I totally, if someone, I'm not gonna, this is definitely not a movie where I'm like, oh, you like it, that's weird. That's not that at all. I just I recognize that it's for personally me. I just did not get a connection here, and I can't really point to any specific reason why. I can't point to any mistakes or problems or anything. It just, didn't do it for me. And that happens sometimes.
The bullet holes did not spew out blood.
Oh, that's it. That's why
people to
movie
get
over.
Shot in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's why the movie was ruined, right?
Yeah, not realistic blood effects. Movie ruined. 0 out of 10. Worse than 50 Shades Darker.
Oh my
god. Ew, you reminded me that exists.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking, what's the worst thing ever? So.
that is most definitely the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have like nothing to say, which is not good for for a thing where you're supposed to talk about a thing you just saw. But I really came away from that saying like that was the thing, and okay. So I don't know. You two have to come up with something interesting to talk about.
I guess of like the actors and actresses, the one name that I had heard previously before was Humphrey Bogart.
That was the only name I knew too. I think everyone else was actually European, but he's the only American actor, and maybe that's why we probably recognize him.
Yeah, because ironically enough, the reason why I know of Humphrey Bogart is because someone named their dog after him.
What?
Yeah, they named their dog after it. I think they were a fan of him, so they named their dog after him.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, that's how I got. They were like, "Yeah, we named him after the actor," and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen any of his stuff before. Now I've seen something of his." Now,
I feel like the main thing I know him for is just the fact that people back then thought he was hot.
Well,
can't comment on that one. I don't know. I will say that like it didn't feel like. I'm just thinking and comparing this, like, immediate comparison for this is like the the monster movies we saw in October, right? Just because they're older, but like those movies, there was like. Style is not really the right word, but like the acting felt noticeably different here than in those.
Yeah,
right? It felt more reasonable here, I guess, instead of like the overdramatic stuff. So
yeah, I think it was more natural too. Like during serious scenes, they didn't like randomly zoom in on someone's eyes like in Dracula.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, is that like, was that stylistic for the time for the 30s, or was it stylistic because of like that type of movie?
Right? Oh, right, because it was horror.
Right.
I guess
if there is
don't
like,
know yet.
For example, because again, there were like more Universal monster movies through the 40s or whatever. So like, if we watched those, would those be more similar to like Dracula, or would those be more similar to this? Right.
Yes, we'll be looking at more silver screen movies at some point.
Maybe, I don't know.
It is interesting, like looking at these films, and also like, I mean, as Valen, you mentioned, this took place in World War II, as opposed to now when you have like movies that kind of recreate World War II and stuff like that. So it's also interesting seeing what people's opinions during that time were too. Because like, for instance, there were actually a bunch of Titanic movies before like the James Cameron one, like that we watched and everything. There was even one that I think starred an actress that survived the Titanic incident, and it came out either the same year or sometime, or like a year or two later.
Oh dear. Yeah. Too soon.
No. It was supposed to be like a recreation of what happened during the event and everything.
Oh, okay.
I guess it'd be like, yeah. So
I wonder how they pulled off the sinking part then.
Well, See, that's a small detail, which is that it is one of the films that has been lost to time. So we don't know how they portrayed it. But yeah, I just find that detail really interesting. Because it's like when you have movies that actually take place closer to the event and stuff, it's interesting seeing how they like frame a certain thing as opposed to like many years later when one, we know the outcome, and two, you kind of can look at it with a different lens because of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Also because you know the outcome and you also were well aware of what the Nazis did and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just very interesting. I guess, Ryan, do you have anything else to, mention or add?
I don't think so.
I guess now we can get to the question that we all were kind of pondering before this. How are we going to rank this?
Are we going to?
Yeah, are we going to rank this with the monster movies, or are we going to give it a normal ranking? Or are we not giving it a ranking? Or are we going to start a new list for Silver Screen?
Just for old movies. I mean, like, what would the standard be for that?
Yeah. I don't know.
We'd
I mean,
have to watch
I'm not opposed to just giving this a number, but I don't know if like it's gonna be kind of weird having this sort of in the same ranking as everything else, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm neutral on it, on going one way or the other.
How about we just go with if you were ever curious about Casablanca, you could watch it. I mean, just the history of it is pretty interesting, and just knowing that
and again,
they made it during that time.
Right.
We'll just go with a recommendation.
Sure.
Maybe
I mean,
that's
and
fair.
I know that like, you know, what I said about, you know, my opinion of it or whatever. But like even then, first of all, it's not very long, so it's not like, oh, I was sitting here for 3 hours and I wasted my life away. You know what I mean? Like, no. And yeah, I think the context is interesting enough. And again, clearly, it's often seen as like one of the best films of all time. So like, you know, apparently most people really like it. So okay, fine, right? But you know, just keep in mind it was a film made in 42, and from that you probably I highly doubt you'd hate it. So yeah, at least if you're curious, might as well check it out, and then there you go, I guess.
And I guess with that, we are now going to gamble with our wheel.
Yes. Well, actually, we have to say what replaced.
Yeah, what the heck replaced this movie?
That's actually a really good question. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay. It's just the movie Fearless. So this is a movie that I remember. I put it on the list because I saw it as like it was on a list of like underrated films or something, and the premise was interesting to me. And I specifically, I didn't want these two. I haven't seen it, but these two don't really know anything about it. And I kind of specifically said like I don't really want you to kind of look into it. Basically, as far as I know, that I'm willing to say, it's a guy who survives a plane crash and then stuff happens. So, yeah, but should be pretty good. I think it's either early 90s. I think it's early 90s, so it's a little bit older, but
so we're jumping 50 years into the present.
But we have things to choose first. So, what are we gonna get?
To the wheel.
And we get Raiders of the Lost Ark.
We're just talking about that movie.
We were. Okay.
Valen, you and I have seen this movie.
Yes, I've seen it. I saw it once. Probably like 10 years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
I've also seen it once about 10 years ago.
I have certainly not seen this. I'm not lying this time.
Yeah, and then Tara, you've seen other Indiana Jones films too, right?
Yeah, I've seen all of the other ones.
Okay.
With
various quality.
The one that I would say I rank the lowest.
Yeah. I've seen this, and again we watched Crystal Skull, right? But I haven't seen the others. So, but you know, I'm down to see this one again. See how I think about it. Of course, if you know. we could probably then maybe see some of the other ones that, you know, are interesting later. So
I'm just not looking forward to the famous scene that everyone memes all the time, and I was like, oh my god, why are you memeing this?
There's another scene in the beginning that I remember horrified me as a child.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't remember. I only remember the meme thing. And the thing is, that one, it's like, you know it's coming. I don't remember another one. The only thing I remember from the beginning is the guy with the sword.
Oh, I was going to say there's the fire.
I honestly don't remember anything with fire, but I guess we'll find out until next week.
We'll find out next time.
There we go.
All right. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.